The first one we'll talk about. It's a documentary. You saw The Rescue. Quickly, what's The Rescue about?
Oh, yeah. So we all remember in 2018 when a Thai soccer team, 12 boys and their coach, were trapped in a cave system. And basically they were there for a hike, and then the rains came, the monsoon season came early, flooded the cave. And at first people weren't even sure if they were alive or dead. But then people came from all around the world to try to get them out. They were found alive, but extracting them was a really tricky proposition. So I knew that basic outline, and I in fact knew a lot more than most people because I'm a diver. I really like to dive, and cave diving is the most dangerous thing you can imagine. I mean, so many people die doing cave diving because often the visibility is very low. You can't see, you get disoriented, and you can't find your way out of the cave.
Yeah.
And you don't have a certain amount of oxygen.
You're giving me an anxiety attack right now.
Yeah, no, it's bad. And this was especially treacherous because the rains kept coming, the currents were too strong, and it's not a cave like people go diving in because nobody's ever dove in this cave because it's normally a cave you can walk in, And so the Thai Navy SEALs were sort of on the scene first, and they don't have experience with cave diving because there's no military objectives in a cave, for diving or whatever. Usually it's just so, they were kind of at a loss. But as the movie tells the story, there's sort of some main protagonists, even though there were something like 100 divers involved in this rescue and thousands of people from all around the world. They sort of focus on a few main people. Mm-hmm. One of them happened to be dating a Thai woman from that village, and he turned out to be one of the best cave divers in the world. So he got involved early, and his dive partner, and they quickly realized that after the Thai SEALs had struggled so much that you had to call in amateur cave divers. All cave divers are amateur because it's not a profession. Yeah. And so they ended up calling in the best cave divers from around the world. And these two guys that were first on the scene, maybe the top two people in the world, they found the boys. And then from there on, it's this elaborate whole thing to rescue them.
Because the kids actually had to swim out, dive.
Well, it's trickier than that.
Yeah,
I'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to, before I get to that, I wanted to mention that this documentary was made by the same team who made Free Solo. So if you remember that, the story of a guy climbing El Capitan with no rope, really stunning documentary from Nat Geo a couple of years ago. It's the same director combination, Jimmy Chin and Elizabeth Chai. I'm going to mess up her last name. Vasarhelyi, but I'm sure I screwed that up.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't want to go all way into the movie because people need to see it. But I guess the question I have is, were the documentarians there on scene, or is this a collection of footage that people gathered?
That's a great point. I don't think they were there on scene, but they got footage from the divers. So we've probably all seen these pictures of when the boys were initially found. The divers sort of came up. They said they could actually, smell before they could actually see, and then looked around, saw a light, and I guess I don't know at what point they started recording, but then, they swim up and then just see the boys. There's actual footage of that. There's a lot of footage from the divers and from the Thai Navy SEAL team. Apparently there's something like 90 hours of footage that they didn't get initially, and they only got apparently like 4 months ago. And so they actually, a lot of the dive footage, they do have a lot of dive footage and a lot of footage from news teams on site and people who were in the process. They're just recording things on their cell phones. But then for some of the key scenes, they, or I don't know actually which ones, they recreated some of the scenes with the actual principals involved. And so just basically, and they say this at the end of the movie, they're not trying to hide anything, but it's seamless. Like you can't really tell like what is original footage and what they recreated. And then they have, graphics and all kinds of, it's made by Nat Geo, so there's some money behind it. And so they really tell the story. But the best part is sort of the interviews with the people telling the story. So even if you know the broad outlines of the story, the drama is just through the roof because of how difficult it was, and then their personal stories about how they sort of felt about it and their role in it. I will say that to answer your question about, did the boys swim out, it was deemed too dangerous for them to try to swim out, because the dive crew that found the boys also found 4 workers that were trapped earlier on in the cave system, and they swam them out with masks where they gave them they had a backup regulator or something they gave them. They told them just how to do it, but it didn't matter. Every guy kept swimming up to the surface and taking off their mask and panicking. And so they said those guys only had to dive like a few minutes, and the kids were so far down in the cave, it was a many hour. I think at the beginning it was like a 4-hour extraction process to get them out, and they had to like change gear and all this other stuff, and there was just no way. And the kids were, of course, weakened from being there, and if they panicked, then they're putting the lives of the divers in danger. So the least bad solution they could come up with was to anesthetize the boys. And then, of course, now you've got a problem of, if something goes wrong, you have this full face mask. The mask gets dislodged to get water in there, and you just die. And if your airway is blocked, you die. If you can choke on your own saliva, there's all these crazy things.
Okay, so let's save the rest for the movie. So generally, what's your general impression of the film then?
Oh, it's I think that was my favorite thing I saw at TIFF, feature or doc alike, even though it's one of those things where real life can be even stranger and more preposterous and more inspiring than fiction. If all that was written down, I would say, oh, that's too saccharine or too much drama, but the fact that it's real life, man, and they find a way to tell the story where it's a very narrative kind of story, and then they find the drama and the tension and the people, the human stories.
Yeah. So you're saying fiction is for wimps then?
I'm just saying that, I have a tendency, I see so many movies that I have a tendency to know what all the tropes are, and know what all of the narrative tricks are. And I know when I'm being taken for a ride and whatever. But in this, even though I knew everything, it was still unbelievably satisfying. So, must see.
All right. Very good. I can't wait to see it. That's Nat Geo.